How are you? I hope you are fine. You are highly welcome for another time of study. Our topic today, or strand, as the CBC curriculum calls it, is heterotrophism. Heterotrophism is a mode of nutrition. There are two modes of nutrition: autotrophism and heterotrophism. Autotrophism is where organisms manufacture their own food. Plants are good autotrophs. They make their own food using light and simple substances from the environment through the process of photosynthesis. Okay, away with autotrophism. Our focus in is heterotrophism. It's a mode of nutrition in which organisms feed on already made food. Organisms are feeding on food which has been made. It could have been made by other the autotrophs, such as plants, or they feed on other animals. Because a good example of heterotrophs, I mean organisms which exhibit or show heterotrophism, feeding on what has been made, are plants. Oh no, sorry. Animals. Animals are a good example of heterotrophs. They feed on what has been made. They do not make their own food. I'll discuss types of heterotrophism. Types of heterotrophism. I'll handle 6 types of heterotrophism. Holozoic, saprophytism, phagocytosis, symbiosis, parasitism, and commensalism. Commensalism, COMMENSALISM, commensalism. 6 of them. Let me start with the first one: Holozoic nutrition. Holozoic type of heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Holozoic involves ingesting, digesting, and assimilating nutrients. Ingest, you take in, it is digested, and it is used in the body. Holozoic. Organisms that have such kind of nutrition are birds and mammals. Like us, as human beings, we eat, ingest, digest, and use nutrients. That is holozoic nutrition. Secondly is saprophytism. Saprophytes are organisms which feed on dead, decaying matter. So they obtain nutrients from decomposing organisms, dead, decaying matter. They obtain nutrients. How does it occur? Is that they release enzymes with the substance that is decomposing, which break down that substrate, then take the soluble nutrients in. It mostly happen in bacteria and fungi. So those organisms cause decomposition. So that is saprophytism. Thirdly, let me talk about parasitism. Parasitism is a feeding relationship or an association where we have 2 organisms. One is a parasite and the other one is the host. So a parasite obtains livelihood or nutrients from the host, while the host, on the other hand, does not benefit. Instead, it loses. So a parasite. Examples like external parasites in livestock, such as ticks, or internal parasites such as roundworms. That is the third one, parasitism. The fourth one, let me talk about symbiosis. Some people want to say symbiosis. SY. Symbiotic relationship. Symbiosis is where two organisms associate, they live together, and they mutually benefit from each other. A symbiotic relationship is a relationship that two organisms are benefiting from each other. Unlike parasitism, where one was benefiting, the other one is losing. In this, both organisms are benefiting from each other. I'll use two examples. One, in legumes, such as beans, peas, groundnuts, those legumes, in their roots, they have swellings called root nodules. In the root nodules live a bacterium known as nitrogen fixing bacteria, or rhizobium. The name is rhizobium, nitrogen fixing bacteria. What is the role of this bacteria in the root nodules? It converts nitrogen gas into nitrates in the soil. It is important to remember that plants do not absorb atmospheric nitrogen, that is, nitrogen in gaseous form, like the way it absorbs oxygen, carbon dioxide. But when it comes to nitrogen, it has to be converted into nitrates. When it in the form of nitrate, it's a form in which plants can now absorb and use it as nutrients. So rhizobium, this bacterium, nitrogen fixing bacterium, come in between to help the legumes get nitrates. But how, so the legume plant benefits, but how does this bacterium benefit? It benefits in that it gets food, it feeds in that plant, it gets shelter there. Another example is in the rumen of herbivores, such as cattle, cows, that type. They digest cellulose, they eat grass, and they digest it. You as human being, or me, if you eat grass, you may not digest it because it has in their cell walls, it has a component called cellulose. It's a carbohydrate, yes, a polysaccharide. We do not have in our bodies an enzyme called cellulase which breaks it down. In the rumen of these organisms, rumen is one of the chambers. It has, like a cow has 4 chambers in one stomach. Okay, so in the rumen lives this bacteria. This bacteria secrete an enzyme cellulase, which helps these organisms to break down cellulose, which they feed on. And how does the bacteria benefit from the animal, the herbivore? It gets shelter, food. Okay, that is a fourth one, I think so. That is a symbiotic relationship. The other one is commensalism. Commensalism. Commensalism is where two organisms associate with each other. One organism is benefiting from the other without harming the other one. You remember parasitism? One was benefiting, that is the parasite, benefiting from the host, but the host was losing nutrients. You're not benefiting. In fact, you are being harmed. In commensalism, two organisms associate. But in this association, one is benefiting without harming the other. I think this is a nice relationship, but symbiotic is better. We help each other. You scratch my back, scratch yours. But in commensalism, two organisms associate together. One benefits without harming the other. I'll give an example. Sometimes when animals are grazing in the field, there are some birds which keep following these animals. Why? Do they need anything on this from this animal? No. They just stay aside. They follow this animal. In this, they are targeting the grasshoppers in the grass. But as the cow, for instance, when the cow is grazing, it disturbs the grasshoppers. What will happen? The grasshoppers hop. As they hop away, that hopping, then the birds are able to notice the grasshoppers and they go for the grasshoppers and they get their meal. The cow is not even aware that it has assisted the bird to get the feed in these grasshoppers. So in this relationship, these birds are benefiting directly from this animal. The animal has just disturbed the food, and then it has fed on it. So that is commensalism. One organism is benefiting from the other without harming it. This one is just feeding on its grass, but this one has benefited by getting its food. I guess that one must have been the fifth one. That is commensalism. The last one is phagocytosis. 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 Phagocytosis is a feeding relationship which occur mainly in white blood cells and some single cell, unicellular organisms, single cell organisms such as amoeba. Phagocytosis is, how do I demonstrate? They engulf the food and then digest it and then absorb the nutrients. What do I use to demonstrate that? Okay, allow me to use this remote, assuming that this is food substance, the food substance. These organisms, like amoeba, will engulf. So they have structures that will engulf. When it has engulfed, it releases enzymes that break down the that break down the that break down the substrate, the food substance, and then allow the nutrients absorb the nutrients directly into their body system. That is phagocytosis. In fact, that is how white blood cells destroy a pathogen, that is a disease-causing organism. Should it find that this is a pathogen, that is a disease-causing organism, it goes for it and then it engulfs it and digests. Feed on it, then the pathogen will not cause the disease. So those are the 6 types of heterotrophism, a mode of nutrition in which organisms feed on already made food. Good example, animals are heterotrophs. They feed on already made food. We feed on plants. So plants make their own food. Sisi tunadandia. We just eat what has been made. We are heterotrophs. So I've given 6 types of heterotrophism. That is types of heterotrophism. Holozoic, the one we have. Feed, take in, digest, and assimilate and use. Holozoic, saprophytism, parasitism, symbiosis, commensalism, and finish for me, phagocytosis. Good, you are concentrating. Okay, thank you so much. Until Until then, goodbye.